Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Feeling Things. I'm Amy.
And I'm Kat.
And what are we? We're finally getting into fear.
And glad.
A core feeling we've been waiting on for quite a bit. What core feelings have we covered so far? Lonely.
Mm-hmm. Sad.
Angry.
Shame.
Guilt.
You're counting and I'm counting. What are we at?
I know we've covered lonely, hurt, sad, angry, shame, guilt. Boom.
And now we have two more.
Yeah. So if you missed those episodes, they're the past 3 Tuesday episodes on the Feeling Things feed. So look at a calendar, match up the dates, and catch up on those because we are going through all of the core feelings, which are very important when it comes to understanding, well, your feelings.
And yourself. Yeah.
And yourself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're finally getting to fear. And the reason why Kat and I are like, we're finally to fear is because we were actually going to do this as the second Feeling Things core feelings episode. But I knew I wanted to talk about my boyfriend and I just wanted to wait. And I'm glad we did. There was just some things we were ironing out on his side, my side. We had therapy in between. And I think the therapy gave me a lot of clarity around my fear.
Well, and the cool thing about that is the lawnmower ruined that episode.
That's right.
The weed whacker, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So it was, what does that make possible? And this is going to be so much better because you've had all those conversations. You can talk about it more freely. You've learned more things. You understand your fear more now.
Oh my gosh, therapy is such a game changer, and that's why it's important that you're here because this is a therapy podcast. We're all about that. So before we get into the core feelings, that we do have our feeling of the day, and I actually asked my boyfriend what he was feeling around us, and because I thought, oh, well, you can be a part of the episode, and we'll make your feeling our feeling of the day. I said, so what are you feeling today? And he said, I'm feeling excited because we have our trip to Charleston coming up. Yeah. That's what he gave me for my birthday. And we don't get a lot of one-on-one time together because I've got 2 kids. He has 3 kids and we're both
working
professionals. And we have lives outside of each other.
Dang it.
Dang it. So sometimes we can go a minute without getting some real quality time. So we're excited for Charleston, and
you've never been.
I've never been. So I also am excited. So we'll get into the gifts and impairment around that word. And then just as we were about to hang up, he goes, another thing that I'm feeling though, and I said, oh, tell me more, is encouraged. And I was like, well, that's a really good feeling too, that is different, but both excited and encouraged fall under glad.
Yeah.
And the 2 core feelings we're talking about today are fear and
glad.
Yeah. You nailed it.
Well, well, I also am feeling excited today. So I'm on the same page because last night I had this idea. And I think I'm talking about this because I want other people to do this with me because I'm having fun with it. I had this idea come to me. I've always wanted to be in a book club, but I don't want to read the book because I want to read the book that I want to read and not the one that like the club's reading, So I decided, why don't I start a movie club where I don't have to spend as much time reading the book. And I imagine a movie club is, in my eyes, more fun than a book club. But I guess a lot of book clubs, they don't actually talk about the book.
Well,
I've never been in one.
I was in a book club in 2009, I think it was.
Why do you remember the year?
Because I lived in North Carolina and I really didn't have that many friends.
Oh.
And book club was not at the top of my list of things to do. However, because I was in a city or a town where I didn't have a lot of friends, I only moved there because my husband at the time was in the Air Force. And we were in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And there was a group that started a book club. And I'm like, I need friends. I'll read.
How did you?
We'll read for friends. So I went, and it actually was a lot of fun. And they would definitely talk about the book.
Did you make friends?
Yeah, I mean, we were closer, and of course we got together, and then we would, have that in common. And it was a small town, so sometimes if I run into them, I'd be like, "What chapter are you on?" And it kind of gives you something to talk about, But it was fun. Yeah. I mean, but you also talked about other things and caught up on life. So to your point, it's not solely focused on the book. I mean, there's drinks and snacks and hang time, and it definitely nurtured the relationships. Yeah.
Well, so I have a friend that is in a book club and she'll post them and the like snacks and decor and stuff every time they meet is the theme of the book, which I thought was really cute. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I will start a movie club. So myself, my husband, and 2 other couples are doing this movie club where once a month or whenever we can make it work, one person picks a movie. They don't tell us what it is. And then you have to cook dinner for us themed out of that movie. It doesn't have to be like food that's in the movie. If you had a movie that was in Italy, you could have Italian food. And then I really wanted there to be like decor involved, and then like maybe you dress up like the characters. And then like I said, well, you don't know if somebody's gonna like the movie, and it might be one of those things where they don't pay attention. So we should like have a quiz at the end, and whoever gets the most questions right wins a prize themed out of the movie. And they all were like, so we'll just do the dinner and the movie.
So you don't have to watch it and then show up and talk about it. Y'all are all watching it together.
Yeah. So it's movie night.
But I mean, leave it to you to like try to form some sort of a way for you to be best in class. You're like, I get an A.
I think I was more concerned of like, they might not want to watch my movie. So I'm going to force them, like in school when your teacher would make you watch a movie and it would be about, I don't know, the environment, and you would have to write down like 4 facts you learned. So I wanted to make sure people were paying attention to my movie.
Yeah, but not everybody has this deep desire to get an A. So it'd be like, okay, whatever, I'll take your quiz, and they're not going to care. Okay, so this is fun.
Yeah.
You're inviting other people though. Are we supposed to watch the same movie y'all are doing, or you just want them to do this sort of thing with their friends?
So I didn't think that through, because I can't really invite them to do it because it's a surprise. Like last night we went to one of their houses, and we walk in and he served us milkshakes, and then they had smash burgers and fries and the special sauce and stuff. Do you know what movie
Can
it
I
is?
guess the movie?
Yes.
Okay, Friday Night Lights.
No.
Oh.
Let me give you more clues.
Okay.
I think I gave you all of them. Milkshakes, and the milkshake was vanilla.
Okay.
Smash burgers, mayonnaise with fries.
Okay. When Harry Met Sally?
No.
Oh.
I don't know that you're gonna. I don't know that if you've seen this. It's number 8 on IMDb of best movies of all time.
Oh, okay. Well, just what is it?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Okay. So so you have the meal, and then people are like thinking, "Oh, I know what the movie is. I know what the movie is," but we still didn't know. And then he gave us like facts. He read off facts about the movie right before we watched it to see if, kind of like on Smartlist, how they read facts about their guests and they shout out if they know it as the facts go on.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do this.
And then they were like, Pulp Fiction. And I was like, oh, dang it.
Well, so did you like it?
It was 2 hours and about 40 minutes. So that was hard for me. I'll give you my review. The night was great. The food was great. Top notch. Vanilla milkshake, so good. The movie was long. I can appreciate the writing, and I can appreciate how they filmed it because it's not in chronological order. So like the beginning and the end are like, the end is the beginning, the middle is the end.
So you really have to pay attention.
Yeah. But because of that, there didn't seem like there was like a climax of the movie where you're like, oh, I'm really in it. It just felt like you're trying to figure out when it's going to get.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'd be annoyed. If I got there, I'd be like, ooh, yeah, smash burgers, fries, and vanilla milkshake. And then I would be like, oh, I don't want to watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. But it is one of those movies that I think it's like a piece of
art,
film history. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's number 8 on best movies ever,
so
according to who, I don't know. But
yeah, I know. I'm glad I watched it. I probably won't watch it again.
But the idea behind this movie club thing is really good. I like it, especially the surprise factor of showing up and getting bits and pieces of the movie through food.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, people could go as far with this as they wanted. Like,
I might dress up.
Clothing. Oh, like if you host, like you might get in a full blown character.
Yeah.
Do you know what movie? Well, don't say, because in case your friends listen, because it's supposed to be a surprise.
I haven't picked, but I think because they picked a movie that was way out of my wheelhouse, I don't feel as bad picking a movie that they might not like.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I get why you're excited. That's fun. Okay. Excited. Which we'll get to the gifts and impairments of excitement in a little bit.
As we go.
Because the impairment of excitement, I was already laughing a little bit when I was reading about that, since my boyfriend is excited
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
But he is feeling it though.
He is feeling excited. Well, okay, I'll give you a little hint into an impairment of feeling excited could be you ignore red flags.
Oh.
And I'm like, am I a red flag? Waving.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, no, I don't think I am. But some things I might do, like if he's feeling so excited, he might overlook some stuff that I do that could be like, whoops, red flag.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Just thought it was kind of funny. So when you're excited, you got to be on guard.
Mm-hmm. Am I excited and I'm ignoring reality, or am I excited and I'm still paying attention to the things that aren't maybe so exciting?
Exactly. So we'll touch on that when we get to glad. We're gonna get to fear because that is, well, I think something a lot of us experience in a lot of different ways, and the core need behind fear, which when I tell some of my story with my boyfriend, it's protection.
Yeah. And again, with all of these feelings, the protection could be showing up in a million different ways. So it doesn't just mean physical safety. It doesn't just mean a certain type of, I need to guard myself. The protection can come through being vulnerable with somebody and feeling connected to them.
And I was vulnerable with him in therapy the other day.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get to that story, but before we get into it, if you're feeling fear, like you said, need something around protection. If you are trying to suppress it, one, I love fear because it shows us what we're very, very, what we care about the most. So it can lead us to things that we don't want to miss out on. And what happens, I think, a lot of times is because we don't like fear and it feels so scary, we end up misinterpreting it, and then we do miss out on things, versus it just being a signal of, hey, this is important to you. This is something that you care about. This is something that you're passionate about, which if we think about the things we get afraid of, I'm thinking about like, even this, like when we started feeling fear around, like, I hope it's good. That is showing us that
rebranding the podcast.
Yeah. In that first episode, I had to redo the first one. But if we didn't have that fear around it, we wouldn't put as much energy into it. We wouldn't put as much care into it. And rather than saying, oh, this is scary, I shouldn't do it, this is scary, it's important to me, I want to pay attention to it. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people too think that in those spaces, if I feel fear, something really bad is going to happen and I'm not going to be able to handle it. And that's not always true. We can be disappointed if something happened and the worst case scenario happened, we can be disappointed and have all those other feelings show up, but it doesn't mean we're going to collapse or we're not going to be able to make it through.
And again, I know sometimes we speak to our two men listening to the podcast, which actually I got a note the other day from a friend. Did I share it with you?
Well, we got an email from a male listener.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read that one yet. But I did get a note from a male friend of ours, Chase, who sent our episode to two other guys because it related to a topic they were talking about at dinner like a week before. And so I was like, wow, okay, Chase plus two other guys. That's three guys. Plus I know there's like two other ones.
Plus our emailer.
Oh, 6. So now we have for sure 6 men listening.
Yeah.
And
Patrick listened.
Okay.
7.
Whew, okay. Alex might listen to this one since we're going to be talking about
8.
8. Wow. And climbing. So, I feel like my sister's husband might listen to this one because we're going to talk about primal questions. He loves primal questions. 9.
We're almost to double digits.
We're almost to 10.
So, okay, before we get into your story, I do want to say too, if we ignore the fear, if we're like, oh, I'm not going to touch that. What happens a lot of times is anxiety shows up, like the not helpful anxiety, or when we don't know where it comes from, or it shifts to rage. And the example I use to explain that is road rage. So when I'm driving in my car and somebody cuts me off and I, honk at them, maybe I do a hand gesture towards them, or I throw my hands up in the air like that, and it looks like I'm really angry. If I really was honest with myself, often I'm feeling scared because you cut me off, I almost hit you. But because I don't want to feel that fear, because a lot of times fear is very vulnerable, I just go straight to anger. And that turns into this like big, ragey looking thing versus, hey, that was really scary that you did that. I didn't like it.
Yeah, and fear isn't weakness. That's what I want to speak to too with the men. And most men are the road ragey ones. Versus, there are women that have road rage, but I know it for mostly men in my life.
Yeah, I experienced road rage from a woman last week.
Okay.
100%.
Well, yeah, it's not a blanket statement, but
it happens a lot with
to
men.
our 8, 9, maybe 10 male listeners, fear is not weakness, it's awareness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a t-shirt.
So, yeah, or a hat.
Yeah.
Or a sweatshirt.
Or a candle.
Or a mug.
A pillow.
A pillow. A poster.
But that is important to say.
A button.
A sticker.
A pin. You can put it on anything.
Anything. A poster? Did we say that?
I think you said a poster.
Oh, dang it. I'm running out of things. We're going to move on.
Shoot. A bumper sticker.
A banner.
A banner.
Yeah. A flag.
An airplane with a little message flying around.
A blimp.
If you listen to last week's episode, you know about the blimp situation. But yeah, fear isn't weakness, it's awareness.
Yeah.
A tattoo.
Temporary tattoo.
A
beret.
I don't know if you put that one on a beret.
Yeah, you could.
What else could we put this on? I really want to put it on more. A journal.
A bracelet.
Magnet.
Did you say bracelet? Sure,
A bracelet. A candle.
I said candle.
Another candle.
A bigger candle.
Okay, let's.
A
screensaver. Oh, good one. Cryo cat.
Okay.
From the back. We're breaking the fourth wall here. Cryo cat and Shannon are also in the room with us, so sometimes you might hear them chime in. But let's just get into fear. Let's
Can
just
I say
do
one
it.
more?
I'm still a little nervous, but yeah.
An email signature.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
like sincerely, cat. Fear is weakness. It's awareness. That's a good one.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, a sign off.
But seriously, that's a good point you make. So it's not weakness. It's just showing us what we care about.
Because for me, that's what was happening is awareness.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm so nervous to talk about this story, but maybe because we're just going to talk about things that some stuff you maybe have heard me mention, whether here on the podcast before, more vaguely. Other stuff I've said on the Bobby Bone show kind of recently, if you're a listener over there. But I've been thinking a lot about fear, even since we recorded the episode that had to get deleted because of the weed whacker. Do you know I have a speech impediment with R's and W's and like real world is really hard for me to say. And so is weed whacker. Weed whacker. Weed whacker.
I think you told me that. But
also I used to do endorsements for West Rock Coffee. West Rock. But I have to warm up. So anyway.
I've always thought you're good at enunciating things. So good.
Not if it's a R and a W situation, which weed whacker, 2 W's in a row, difficult for me.
Yeah.
But luckily we had to delete that because now I better understand my fear. And I think that when you're talking about emotions and things that you've been through, the best place to do it from is a place of understanding.
Yeah.
And I finally understand it better. And I'm still in a place of fear. I will say I thought I was out of the fear because I finally dated him. Because the reason why I didn't want to date him is because my boyfriend is a widower. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. But we had a recent therapy session. And I realized like, oh, I still have so much fear and this all makes sense. But I'm going to look at this fear as awareness.
Yeah.
Not weakness. And yeah, the widower part, it's an important side note here because it's really the whole reason why there is fear. Although I did have other fears that popped up when he was first presented to me as a suitor.
Well, can I say something really quick before you go into this?
Yeah.
Just for people who are listening and applying this to themselves. I'm glad that you said what you just said because when we're thinking about feelings, I think a lot of times we think about the biggest one that we have at the moment. And fear can be just there in the background. And it would be okay to walk around or be in your relationship that is secure and also have fear right alongside of it because fear shows us what is important to us. And because fear lets us know I care about this, you're going to have fear, a version of it. It might not be the biggest, loudest version of it within anything that matters to you. So we don't need to get rid of it. We just need to acknowledge it and feel it.
Yeah, which is what I'm trying to do. And I have a lot of notes, so I may refer to them just because This is important to me and I want to get it right. But what came up for me in therapy the other day, which I had not thought of at all in my relationship, is my primal question, which is, am I wanted? Which I got my primal question from Mike Foster's book, 7 Primal Questions, which I know you've interviewed Mike. And I'll just quickly run through the 7 questions. And then if you want to do more research on that for yourself, we'll link his book in the show notes. But the 7 questions are, am I safe? Am I secure? Am I loved? Am I wanted? Am I successful? Am I good enough? Do I have a purpose? What's yours?
A mixture between am I loved and am I wanted?
Yeah. My sister is Am I Wanted? She's the one that turned me on to this book originally. And then I did the whole test quiz thingy and Am I Wanted too? And I think that's from some stuff from our childhood. So it makes sense. But it's not about just being liked or accepted, because I want that, but it's about being pursued, invited, desired, welcomed, and chosen. And for me, the chosen stands out to me because I said that in therapy just the other day. And I felt childish saying it. So it was almost like little me was showing up. And I almost didn't even want to say it out loud because I'm like, this just feels so selfish and childish. I didn't know how else to put it. And I won't get into the details around it because that's more personal. But what I can say is that I decided to just say it out loud. I was like, I just want to say this so that it's out there and so that y'all can know. And then hopefully my therapist could help have more information to guide us. But I was like, it's like, and I felt like if I was a little child, I would kind of be putting my fist down and my foot down, kind of like, I just want to be chosen.
Like, what about me?
And I didn't like it. But then after I said it, it felt better.
Well, what did you feel before you said it?
When it first came up for me, I felt like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. So I'm not going to say it. This feels wrong. Like, it felt unfair for me to say, I want you to choose me in this moment. But once I said it, I felt some relief. And then our therapist was able to kind of talk through some of what I was feeling. And then at one point, Alex started like fidgeting more. And she was like, what's coming up for you? Because she's very intuitive and kind of looks at body language and figuring stuff out. And he's like, I'm good. Just like kept clearing his throat
She's the
and
one
fidgeting.
Who's
she's like
having stuff.
Yeah. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm probably going to need another session.
Wait, but did you notice? I just asked you what you were feeling before you said that, and you gave me a thought.
I did.
Yeah. So you said I felt like I shouldn't feel this way.
Okay. So what did I feel in my body?
Yeah. What
I had tightness in my throat.
What about emotionally?
Well, my throat indicates emotion. Like, I felt like I was going to start crying once I finally said it. So I felt like it was something that I needed to get out. And I felt, I might need you to walk me through
sad,
exactly
angry,
what you're asking.
Lonely, fear, guilt, shame, those feelings.
There was fear there that I was going to say that and I wasn't going to be chosen.
Okay.
Is that better?
Well, I mean, all of that's good information, but acknowledging that I was afraid because this relationship is important to me.
Yes.
And so I don't want to go there. And as I don't want to lose this. And the reality, what I think you're getting to is that was very helpful for you to share that.
Yeah. It was really helpful for me to get it out. And I realized, like, okay, I have this wound from my childhood, some emotional abandonment stuff that went on. And that is what that primal question, it stems from emotional abandonment, neglect, or not being invited in, whether as a child or it can happen in friendships or in other romantic relationships. I think I've dialed mine back to some stuff in my childhood and then even in my marriage, some. And so now exiting that relationship and then entering into a new one, it's almost like I want to do this right. So there's a lot of fear around that. And when you're dating someone who married the love of their life and then lost them and to something like cancer and I know it was devastating. In fact, when I met his sisters, no, sorry, I get his wife has a twin sister. So when I met her for the first time, she was very sweet and kind and welcoming and so excited because before his wife passed away, she said to her people, like, I want Alex to meet somebody. Like, make sure that happens. She didn't want him to be alone because some people, who knows, when they're on their deathbed, they're like, you better not meet anybody. Don't, no. It's me or you're dead, something like that. Yeah. So she did want that for him. And she sent me a note after I met her and she was like, look, Alex has been through hell. And she's like, and I mean hell. And I've walked alongside people with cancer and my mom and his wife had something very similar and their journey, it was about 2 years long. There's a lot of similarities there. And even with his kids, like they've lost their mom. I've lost my mom. I know what it's like to be in their shoes. While it looks different, but I've never dated anybody that has lost their wife, like someone they loved and they still love. And so I think when he first was brought into the picture or brought up, which we can get more into that in a little bit and how that happened, but I think I was scared because I'm like, oh, well, he belongs to somebody else. Like they're still in love, but she's no longer here.
And is that like I'm still not going to be, if I'm chosen, I'm still not even really chosen?
I guess so, but I hadn't really worked through all of that until this last therapy session. So even though things are great, there is a part of me deep down that wonders, is there really room for me here? And like, that's a question that the lens, now I see everything through that lens, through that filter. And that messes with my mind because my deepest fear is not being wanted. So then it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to filter everything through that. Like I was thinking through some stuff that really bothers me at times or makes me wonder at times. Does he need me or does he want me? And I know we've talked about that because of in ways that I show up sometimes. And I'm like, well, this is convenient. If you're listening, Alex, sorry, but you already know some of this. Am I loved fully or just conveniently? And then I tell myself stories like, this will be very difficult with his kids and they'll never be close to me. But
yeah, you make that up.
There may not be space there for me. But here's what I'm learning. So thank you, therapy. Love is not a limited resource. Put that on a mug.
Yeah, there's enough for it to go around more than one time.
Grief and love can live side by side. And Alex's past doesn't erase my worth. And we get to build a new chapter. Like what he's been through doesn't change my value to the relationship.
Which one of those things is the hardest, you think? Those 3 things that you named?
Probably his past with my current value. Because that's where I'm like, I'm wondering, where do I fit in and how do I belong? But what I have to look at it as is they can be side by side and we're writing a new chapter. So, and with all of our parts.
Yeah. Well, now that he even knows that is coming up for you, you guys can approach things differently. And with the 7 primal questions, one of the things that I found most fascinating about it, when I did talk to Mike about when he was coming out with a book, is, well, everybody has the same questions. Everybody is asking those same questions. Your primal question is really the one that you didn't get a yes answered to the most. And so you have to find a way to get a yes. And there's all these things that we can do to make that happen that sometimes don't allow us to be our actual true selves. But what happens in relationships a lot of times, which might be some of what you guys are going through, is you walk through the world trying to answer, because of the lens you have, everybody around you is going to feel wanted, which I will say you're really good at that. Like you are very good at making sure people feel wanted around you. but not everybody is asking themselves that question. They could be asking, am I safe? They could be asking, am I loved? They could be any of those other questions. And so Alex, at the same time, he's walking around the world with his filter, making sure everybody gets a yes answer to the question that he struggles with the most. And so if his is like, am I safe or am I secure?
You are safe.
And yours is,
you are secure.
And yours,
I wonder what his is. Now I want him to take the quiz.
I think he should look into that, because that's where like he's making sure you get a yes to this one question, but you don't need a yes. You have that one covered. And so what you really need is a yes to the wanted. So we just kind of like miss ourselves in relationships. But if we both knew what each other's question was, then we could show up and help show up with that question versus the one I struggle with. Is that making sense the way I explained that? So he probably feels so wanted by you because that's this magic skill that you have, because you know what it feels like not to feel that. I'm sure everybody around your sister always feels wanted, because she's making sure that that doesn't happen to other people. The problem is a lot of people don't, that's not the question they're struggling with.
So I got to figure out his question
Well,
I can make sure to meet his need.
Yeah.
I know I'm like trying to guess based on all of those what I think it might be, but it's a really good book. And you could read the book, but there's also, you could just do the quiz if you wanted to. But if you want to learn more, it can be very, very helpful. I know it's been helpful with my sister and her husband in their relationship, and they've been married 25 years. And they just read the book like a year and a half ago, maybe. And it's been an important tool.
Yeah.
And so it's never too late.
Yeah. It's like a mixture, I think, of attachment theory and the Enneagram. It's like a combination of those things, if you know what those things are. If you don't, just take the quiz.
Make sure you follow this podcast, like and subscribe, because we will definitely be touching on that. But the fear that I feel is protecting my heart. And so, and that's a gift. Like I want to proceed with caution, but not too much, because then it'll turn into an impairment. Because if I don't manage it, then my protection could turn into avoidance, which we don't want any of that. And then the discernment, because I try to be wise about things, could turn into disconnection. So I love alliteration. And I don't want the discernment to turn into disconnection. And so instead of asking, like, is this safe? Am I welcome here? Is there room? Then that voice in my head will get louder and louder and louder, which will be like, this will never work. Which I have said that out loud to him before on the phone. I can think of 2 different times where I'm like, well, this is not going to work for me. Which felt very...
And so in those moments, you were probably feeling fear, but did you know that?
No, I don't think at the time I had.
It was more like frustration.
Frustration and just like not wanting to maybe have to do some of the hard work that it would take around some of the issues. Yeah. Because it will take work and patience. Yeah. Work, patience, consistency, dedication, things that I want, but sometimes in the moment it just feels like too much. So it's easier to say, like, this just probably isn't going to work.
Because what happens if it doesn't? And we try, and then it doesn't.
Yeah. It was a big fat waste of time. I'm just kidding. I knew you were going to say that.
And you didn't say anything.
Well,
I just breathed.
No, I knew you were going to sigh. I knew you were going to sigh. Like you were going to give like a... Which what happens is I would ask myself, well, what does this now make possible? And I will learn from it and I will grow and it will be a part of my life that I'm still thankful for. Like it wouldn't be a waste of time. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least I gave it a go.
Well, you're right. And again, reminder, if you were not scared about this stuff, then that would mean that you didn't care. And if you didn't care, there would also be no reward at the end of it. There would be no reward in the relationship. So that's one of those things where it's really frustrating because you can't selectively feel feelings. You either feel them all or you don't get to feel them. And so if I want that joy and that connection, then I also have to put myself in line of fire for something that might not feel as good.
Right. Which I think we got down to like that my fear with him is now, is there space for me here? Like because he's a widower. Yeah. But I had 2 other fears that popped up when he was first put on the radar for me. So this would be going back to February of 2024. I'm out to dinner with actually Chase, who sent our podcast to 2 other guys. Shout out. Send our episodes to your friends.
Your male friends.
Or your girlfriends, your grandma, your mom, your dad, your cousin, your neighbor. Who else could we recommend? I feel like some podcasts are really good about doing that, recommending that you send this to all your people.
Oh, like specifically your person?
Yeah, or just send it to anybody you know. This could change their life.
Definitely send this to your grandfather.
Definitely.
But sometimes they're like, if you're listening and you have a grandfather, send this to them now. This will change their life.
Okay. Yeah, I know. But I do think that if you know anybody that is maybe going to date a widower, send them this episode.
That actually is true.
It is true because
fair,
there are people, we have listeners that are younger, that have lost spouses. They are a widower trying to date, or somebody might be listening where they are potentially being set up with a widower, or they're on Hinge or wherever and they see widower and they're like, well, don't run away. Well, I'm here to say.
Well, at first you did. So let's go back to February.
Okay, so I go back to February. I'm at a restaurant. I'm at dinner with Chase. And somebody else in our group comes up and is like, Amy, Karen Fairchild is over there at a booth. And I know Karen. She is from Little Big Town. And I know her from my work on the Bobby Bones Show. So I've known her for over a decade now. And I'm like, oh, would love to go say hi to Karen. Didn't know why she was calling me over, but I go over to her booth and she's with her friends. And I sit down at the booth and she said, hey, I don't know if you're dating, but I have a guy in my dad group. He would like to take you out. I guess their kids are friends.
What's her dad group?
Well, she just means like he's a dad in their group. Like if there's kids, you know, like when you've got kids that are in junior high or high school, they're at sporting events.
Okay.
Like group of parents that she was trying to say, I'm not super close to him, but I know him.
Okay.
And we have mutual friends. So I see him at things. And I guess he had run into me at Whole Foods, but I did not know this until after our first date, which is kind of weird that he didn't mention this our entire first date.
I wouldn't either probably, so I get it, but it is weird.
It was weird. And then we went out again. I think our second date was technically a hike. He goes, well, you know we've met before. And I'm like, nah, tell me more, because I did not know that. And now I need you to hurry up and tell me that story because I'm scared. We're in the wilderness together. And now, why did you?
He brings you into the woods and then he's like, well, you know, I've met you before.
Yeah.
This isn't our first time.
Right.
And you're like, oh,
and I'm like,
this would have cell service.
This would have good information on our first date at a restaurant with other humans around. But okay, so was it last week's episode or no, it was 2 weeks ago in one of our Tuesday episodes, we mentioned or is it last week's? When did we talk about the sociopath? Maybe.
It's last week.
Okay, last week. So there was another guy and I was at Whole Foods with him.
And he's the one that called you a sociopath.
And he's the one that alluded to that maybe I was a sociopath, but I'm at Whole Foods with him. And I guess Alex sees me, but I'm with somebody else. So he's like, I'm not going to go up to her. And he knew what I looked like because he listened to the Bobby Bones Show and with his kids. And he's from Nashville and whatever. So he waited until the other guy went to a different aisle and I was by myself. And he came up and he just said, y'all do a really great job with the show. And he said that I was like, oh, you mean me, the Bobby Bones Show? Like I wasn't like right away, like, oh, like assuming I knew exactly what he was talking about. But I think I was so caught off guard with how he did it that, I mean, I was like in the freezer section. I remember exactly what happened. Now I just don't know the words that were exchanged or that it was him. But once he told me about it, I was like, I do remember a man coming up to me and saying, my kids and I listen to the show. But he said specifically, you do a good job with the show. My kids and I listen. And that I responded with some like, oh, are you talking about the Bobby Bones Show? Or I'm just making sure you know who I am. Like he liked that I wasn't overly confident that obviously you're talking about the Bobby Bones Show. Because I really wasn't sure.
That's interesting that you didn't know.
Well, I just felt like the whole thing was just a little weird, but it's obviously good.
Yeah.
Whatever I did was good because then he was intrigued. Yeah. That's what made him want to meet me, like for a date. So that's why when he saw Karen, So let me give you a timeline. He told me he thinks that happened around December of 2023. And then he ran into Karen at a Super Bowl party like 2 months later, 2024. Because Super Bowl's early February.
Yeah.
And said, hey, do you know Amy Brown? Well, guess what? I ran into Karen at dinner like the day after the Super Bowl. Do you know how many times I've run into Karen the entire decade or longer that I've known her?
2?
No, never.
1?
I've never run into her at dinner.
So once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I happened to run
That's
into her the
crazy.
day after she saw him, and he asked about me. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Right. So I was like, okay, so we're sitting there and we're talking at the booth, and she is telling me all these things about him. Let me see. She said, I wrote down things she said. She's like, he's a really nice guy. He's a businessman, 50 years old or so, has 3 kids. He's an athlete. I'm like, what? What does that mean? Well, later I learned that he is like a track star. So he ran track at UVA, and he still has a hurdle record. Nobody's broken it from high school. So
the first thing he brings up on
he
your
has
date.
that. Then we look at his picture, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's cute, but he seems a little professional and buttoned up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see like later, this is later on when I'm about to go out with him, he'd been promoted to like CEO. And I'm like, what? I cannot. His company's based in New York. Like I play easy trivia at work. It just felt like it would be off.
Like you're not gonna be on the same page.
Yeah, like what will we have in common?
He's a businessman and you do easy trivia. Like
Right.
That doesn't.
We don't match. And so my first fear was he has 3 kids. So I had a lot of fear around that. And I was like, oh, 3 kids. That was a little red flag. Because I've got 2 and they're older. They're like, my daughter's about to be 18. And so then
you were hot on not dating somebody with kids.
Yeah, or if they need to be grown.
Yeah.
No kids or grown kids. Yeah, I was hot on that. And my next fear was I'm not smart enough for him or athletic enough.
Oh, you took that high school track star thing to heart.
Well, he's still very
athletic,
fit,
okay,
and athletic.
Okay,
yeah, he does some of these core.
That's interesting. That like, what did you assume he wanted in somebody?
Not me.
Yeah,
not me. Because I was like, why? What? Like someone totally different. And you know other things about him too, where I'm like, I do not fit that mold.
Yeah.
Like there's parts of his lifestyle where I'm like, okay. And sometimes we go do some of those things, and his friends, they're very welcoming. So that's probably me being judgy. I'm not trying to be judgy, but like that's just not my.
It was intimidating.
Vibe. It's intimidating. Like this is a different crowd, but they've been very welcoming.
Yeah.
So that's shame on me for thinking that. But I just didn't think I fit that mold. But then I was like, oh no, he's very silly and playful, and he's not that. What's the word I would use? Pretentious. Yeah. Pretentious is the word. And so he's not that. And I was like, oh, phew, great. Like I judged him.
But yeah, you almost didn't go out with him because of a lot of that stuff?
Yeah, well, some of that I didn't know yet because that's what I got to know. But the 2 main fears when she's talking to me is she's like, 3 kids. I'm like, eeh. And then she's like, his job. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not smart enough for that. And then she says, also, there's one more thing. And I said, what? And she said, he's a widower. Mm. And instantly I said, okay. Like in my mind, I was like, I'm out. Not happening. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I don't even understand. I don't want to take the time to understand. Like, that sounds like scary. Mm-hmm. Too scary for me right now. I just started dating. This is like a wild ride. So,
yeah.
Thank you, but no thank you. It's sort of, I think I was like, well, let's circle back.
Is that what you said?
Something like that. Or like, oh, let's just see where this goes. I just started dating. Like, I don't know. Like, we'll touch base.
Which is a really kind way to say, like, not going to probably happen.
Yeah, so that was February. So then fast forward to July, and Karen is circling back because I guess Alex circled back with her. Like, hey, it's been a minute since February, just anything from Amy. And I had just moved and life was hectic, and I was still terrified of all the things, the 3 kids. I'm not smart enough, and He's a widower.
And you're like, don't you know that we'll circle back means don't ever bring it up again?
Well, no, I really do think I do think part of me was still
interested.
curious. And it's all about timing. Like, it had to be the right time. So what happened was, though, whenever I said, let me circle back, I did start dating somebody else. And then that was kind of, a thing for a minute. And I thought it was evolving into more of a thing, more than he thought, of course, because come October timeframe, I'm getting ready to go on a date with him, and I get a call from a friend that's like, hey, are you still dating so-and-so? And I said, yeah, he's actually about to come pick me up right now. And she said, well, I'm at dinner right now with somebody that is going out with him tomorrow for lunch. And I'm like, oh, a lunch date. And they met on an app. And I was like, he's on an app. Because I knew we weren't exclusive because we hadn't had that conversation. But, I just felt like it was an unspoken exclusive.
Well, part of it is, too, you guys had such trouble finding time
to hang out.
Because you were both so busy with like your kids and work.
Yeah, we were so busy.
So it's like how
he was busy with other people. Trust me. So now I know. But we go out, and I'm trying to be cool because I can't really bring this up because we hadn't had the exclusive conversation, and I don't want to be crazy. So I'm trying to be cool. I'm like, be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, so I'm cool about it. But I say, I didn't ask for some information that I now have, and I don't know what to do with it. And he's like, well, what is it? And I said, I know you have a lunch date tomorrow. And again, I didn't ask for it, but I guess it's just like now it's bringing up the question of like, what are we doing?
And it feels weird holding that information without sharing it with him.
Right. And he just kind of was like, oh, shoot. And then the way they met, like, I won't say how. I did say it was an app, but remember do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, the apps are fine. Okay,
no, we're fine. We're pro apps. Apps are fine. But this was like,
it's just interesting. Like to be on that app, you have to be on a lot of apps, I'd imagine, right?
I feel like this is the lowest of the low. Okay. So no,
not that we're
there's probably lower.
It just was interesting. It was very curious.
Especially if you've already met somebody that you're hanging out with.
Why am I on that?
It seems just a little more, I don't know.
Strange.
Shall I say? I'm not going to say. Okay, fine, I'll say it. Like desperate. Just a little. Just a little.
Okay, I will say.
But I've been desperate. Wait, I get it.
But I also will say.
He is older.
Yeah, but that's a part of it. Like that app might not be as interesting to other people. Like I think those apps are probably more marketed to older people, and Hinge and Bumble and stuff like that is more marketed towards younger people dating.
Let's just say I didn't even know
it existed.
This existed.
Yeah.
Until
it was not anything dirty either. So I don't want people to like be like, yeah. It was nothing nefarious. It was just like
didn't know.
Okay.
Didn't know that was a thing. That's a thing. So he's like, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm going now. And then I couldn't help myself, and I just said it again. And I was like, yeah, I know about lunch with Leslie. And I just go out and I say it, like the whole thing. And he's like, oh, you know her name, you know everything. I'm like, yeah, my friend's literally with her right now, and I'm sure she's lovely and great, and yay. I just need to know like what is going on with us. Because if you're going to be dating other people, then I need you to know that I'm going to date other people too, because I have people that want to date me.
I have person.
I have so many men, one man. I have men that have been hitting me up for 8 months.
I have man who's been hitting me up for 8 months.
I have the same man. He has been trying to date me since February. Okay?
That reminds me of the I have purse. Have you seen that? I have person. I have hat on head.
I am very desirable.
I am wanted.
I'm wanted by this man. Right? Like, I don't even know at this point now how to get a hold of him, but I'm going to figure it out. Okay? So
he'll be circling back with me soon.
At this point, he could have met somebody else and married her. I don't,
true.
Because so much time had passed. But I was like, it's cool. You can date. I'm going to date. And he goes, well, I would still like to keep getting to know you if that's okay. And I said, that's cool.
I'm cool.
It's cool. This is adult dating. I can adult date. You have your lunch with Leslie and I will talk to you later. So then we finished our date. He left. And I guess it was like the next day, I sent Karen a message and I was like, is that guy still available? And so that just really like lit a fire in me to get out there and adult date. So I decided, well, that's what my therapist kept calling it. She's like, Amy, this is adult dating.
Like
because I don't want to date multiple people. But she's like, you're getting to know yourself. You just got out of a long marriage. This is what adults do. And if you're honest about it, that is the adult dating part.
That was the problem, is you had no idea.
But I didn't think he had to tell me. But I mean, I guess he did. He didn't have to tell me. We just never talked about it.
At the point you guys were at, I think it personally.
Yeah, you had hung out with him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it would have been fair for if he was going to be dating other people to let you know for many reasons. So you're being understanding of him, and I think that is very cool, like you said, of you. And I also think it's fair for you to be like, at that point, it would have been really fair for you to also let me know if you're going to be dating other people.
Right. So, yeah, I decided to hit Karen up, and I'm like, is that widower still available?
Is that the text?
I don't think I said it exactly like that, but I'm like, you know that guy, the only guy that you've been trying to set me up with since February? Where up?
Is he?
Because I want to go out. And so fast forward, we went out, and then we've been pretty much dating ever since. So we went to dinner, and it was great. And then we went on the hike, and that's when he was like, well, so we've met before. And I'm like, nope. He's like, I came up to you at Whole Foods. And I was like, oh, and that's when I realized I do remember that, but I wouldn't remember exactly what he looked like.
Yeah.
And
well, also, this is important, I think, to add for your fear, and like also thinking about trusting the process too, is if that situation with the other guy never happened, you would not have been. I think part of the motivation was like, oh, I have person who is interested in me, so I want to go and date too, like a little bit of not even like revenge, but like I can do this too. But another part is you would have never been interested in that person, I don't think, if you hadn't gotten used to the idea because that other guy had kids.
Oh, three kids. So 3 kids, almost the exact same age too. He did warm me up to the whole kid thing for sure. And yeah, he had his lunch with Leslie, and I had my afternoon with Alex.
Didn't Leslie cancel lunch?
Oh, she did cancel lunch, but I think they eventually did go out. Okay. But she did cancel, which that is the funny part. She did cancel the lunch that day, and I do think they went out. And that guy's great, by the way. He's a really nice person. It just wasn't going to work. We were looking for obviously different things. But even when I first started dating Alex, he said he was looking for a relationship. And I said, well, I'm adult dating. And so
and you're like, guess what
I'm
that
just
means?
letting you know. But then like a week into trying to adult date, that's exhausting to me. It's really not my vibe. So I decided I'm going to give it a go. So I told the other guy, I'm going to give this other guy a go. I've started seeing somebody because he's interested in me, and I'm going to give it a go. I do think, yes, I was warmed up to the 3 kids, and now we have 5 kids total, which is so fun in our dating relationship. And the professional thing, like me not feeling smart enough for him, not a concern. He's very, very smart, and he's a lawyer, but he's not weird about it.
But also, okay, he is very smart, 100%. You are knowledgeable and intelligent about things that are different. Like you have,
that reminds me, in his first card that he ever wrote me, he said, like, I've already learned so much from you in a short period of time. And I instantly looked at him and I was like, what have you learned from me? Prove it. I don't believe it. What have you learned? And he was like, a lot. And I'm like what? It's like I almost don't believe that I'm capable of teaching him something, because I see him as so wise. Like he's academically, but also like he's a wise father and friend, and you know.
So what did he say? I'm just kidding.
I don't remember exactly, but I did challenge him right away, but that was my own insecurity and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you don't do that. Someone writes you a nice card. You're not like, oh yeah, prove it. I think he was like,
You're like, next time you have to write them out.
Right, but he's so excited about me, he didn't see that red flag. It's a huge red flag. But I will say, that's not a concern anymore. He's professional, but
He can
not as buttoned up as I thought. Apparently, I haven't seen this side of him, but remember how I told you about his wife's, which this part's always weird. I don't know what to say because it's his wife's sister, but his late wife's sister. She told me that, so his last name is Wadi. She told me that wedding Wadi is a lot of fun. And I'm like, who's wedding Wadi? She's like, oh, just wait. Apparently it comes out at weddings.
Any wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge,
like not his wedding, just any wedding.
That is a huge bonus. You never want to be with somebody at a wedding who's like, wah, wah, wah.
I know.
I don't want to dance. I love dancing at weddings. Oh my gosh.
So have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
I don't know when we're going to go to a wedding, but
if only I was getting married again.
Cryo Cat's in here and she just got on Raya and she said that a guy has already promised her all kinds of goodies. Oh, just kidding. So
she's having a good time.
Maybe we'll go to Cryo Cat's wedding or something. But he is a silly person. He's an amazing dad. I wrote down things about him. He was in a loving marriage. Sadly, his wife died way too young from colon cancer. So I will say this, if you have any symptoms of any kind, urge your doctors to take it one step further if they even think it's hemorrhoids. Because in her case, they did think that. They were like, well, you've got 3 kids. You have a very active lifestyle. Some of what she was seeing in the blood, they were like, you're too young. This isn't colon cancer. Like, you're a young, healthy white woman. Yeah. And it was colon cancer. And they got the colonoscopy and found it too late. And she passed away far, far too young. So that is part of his mission, his kids, is colon cancer awareness. He wears all these rubber bracelets on his wrists. And at first I was like, why do you have so many? And it's for every year that they've had a colon cancer awareness walk or fun run. And he's like, well, if I just wear one, he's kind of added to it. But he's like, if I wear one, nobody asks anything. But if I have multiple, they may ask me. And if they ask me about it, then I get to talk about it in a way that, hey, you never know. Maybe they'll go get tested or share with somebody else. Because it is a growing concern amongst young people. And his wife passed away. And yes, that makes him a widower. So that there's some fear around that. And now that I'm in it, I'm realizing some fear that still shows up because of my primal wounds, my primal question. And that's okay. I'm going to lean into it because I want the gifts of my fear, not the impairments of my fear.
Yeah. The fear is a gift. The fear is a gift if you use it.
It's helping me move forward with wisdom.
Yeah.
The fear I have right now with where we currently are in our relationship, it allows me to move forward with wisdom, not just emotion.
Yeah.
Because if we were to move forward with my emotion all the time, and let me tell you, this relationship would be like whack-a-mole.
Yeah. That's for anybody though. So as you were talking, I was thinking about times that I maybe wish I was aware of my fear because it could have stopped me from saying something in a good way because Alex is a CEO. He was when you met him, right?
Yeah, by the time I started dating him, he had just become CEO.
Which I know what that is. Chief Executive Officer.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a client one time. This was probably, honestly, this wasn't that long ago. This was maybe 3 years ago. I want to say it was 6, but it was like 3. And not that that would really matter because I still should know this, I guess.
Kat and I have ADHD.
Yeah,
if anybody new is listening,
what is she talking about?
We love to give details in a story that don't really matter.
In my head, they matter.
They do matter, but to most people, they don't.
It builds up the story. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. We'll introduce timelines, characters, all kinds of stuff that doesn't matter. But
what I was wearing that day. Yeah. It was virtual. I will say that. I was in a session. It was virtual. And my client was talking about how she was like, yeah, I don't know, I might get this promotion and it could lead to being in the C-suite, some version of that. And I said to her, well, what is the C-suite?
Like by the ocean?
Yeah. I was like, where are you going? And she was like, you know, the C-suite. And I was like, I don't know where that is. And she said, it's like the CMO and the CFO and the, what else is there?
COO.
Yeah. And I was like, and my thought was, what are all of those things? I know CEO. I didn't know there was
CMO.
did I say that?
I don't know.
Chief Marketing Officer. I think you can have a chief
Operations officer, financial.
Finance.
Yeah. C-suite. So they had that's so funny you're sharing this because I learned that through Alex too. And I'll tell you what happened.
It wasn't 3 years ago.
No, it was a month, like a couple of days into our dating. In fact, oh my gosh, it might've been after the hike.
After the second date.
Yeah. Or maybe we went hiking again. I don't know. We went hiking a few things. Let me tell you, hiking Alex really won me over. Because I think professional Alex, more buttoned up Alex, I was like, oh, again, I wasn't able to like really see him.
Yeah.
But then hiking Alex, I was like, oh, this is my vibe. Sort of like, oh, can you imagine when I meet Wedding Waddy? Like I'm going to be like, hey, where have you been? Which I've seen little pieces of that, but I'm excited. It's like a part of him that I get to look forward to. But so somebody get married fast, invite us to a wedding. So hiking Alex, we've gone on multiple hikes. And that's when I was really like, oh, okay, this energy, this vibe, I really like it. Like a style, everything. It's
your jam.
Perfect. My jam. So we went hiking one day and decided to go get a smoothie after. And we were trying to look up which smoothie place to go to. And then we went to one and it was closed. And I was like, shoot, well, where are we going to go? Because this was the closest one. So I picked another location, an E-Rose that was on, like it really wasn't that convenient, but we decided to go anyway because why not? It was a beautiful day. So we went for a drive and we go there. And then as we're approaching it, he's like, this building right behind the smoothie place, he goes, that's where my wife worked. There's actually like a plaque there for her. Like she won an award and there's this whole thing. He's like, I haven't been here like since then. And I could tell like he just got really quiet and shut down. And I'm thinking, okay, what do we do? Should we not go get the smoothie? Like, should I just be like, we don't need a smoothie anyway? Or do we lean in? Do we go, I don't know. We haven't been dating that long. Do we go visit the plaque? I don't know what to do. So I just, when in doubt, just say nothing.
Yeah.
So I sat there allowing him to process. And I was like, oh, wait for it. We get the red light, then it's the green light. We turn in. I'm like, we're going. So we park and we get the smoothie. And he's like, after we get our smoothies, would you want to walk over and see her plaque thing? And I'm like, I would love that. So I'm thinking, okay, things are escalating because now we're really going to be talking about her. Like this is a special thing for them. So we're walking over and he's like, oh yeah, she worked at this hospital. She was a C-suite executive. And in my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So it's funny.
Where
you did not know,
the
but I was like, what does that mean? But I was.
Did you say it?
No, you asked your person, but I didn't.
Well, I wish I had some fear and was like, Heather, you can Google it later.
Well, if he's listening right now he knows that's what I did. I Googled it later. Because of course I acted. I was like, oh yeah, she's C-suite.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, I love the C-suite.
I love going to the C-suite. It's like the best.
C-suite. Yes. It's my favorite building. Like I didn't know. So we go over and we're like looking, but the building is locked because it's a Sunday or a Saturday. But we can look through and we're looking through and it's a big plaque thing. It's not like a little, like I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like a little brick. Like my mom, Judy, which again, they had similar cancers. She has a little brick at St. Jude. So I was like, oh, there's lots of bricks are going to be a thing. But it was this whole thing. Like, I think she now has like maybe an award they hand out in her honor or something. And so I finally peek through and I see, and I'm like, oh, there it is. And we had that moment and I'm like thinking, what do we do now? Like, how long do we stay here? Is it like a moment of silence? Like, it's all these different things of like respectfully. But he was cool. It wasn't anything awkward. He was proud of her. It opened up conversation for us to talk about her. And then when we were walking back to the car and we've got our smoothies, I'm like, how are you feeling? what do you need right now in this moment? He goes, and he said, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but in a nutshell, he said something like, I feel good, like she's speaking to me and giving him permission to
She just wanted to say hi.
date and like, hey, this is good. I like this. Or like almost like a stamp of approval for me that this was happening.
Wait, that is actually so cool that that's where you ended up going. And then you got to see that. And that was her being like, hey guys.
Yeah, because we were not going to go to that smoothie shop. It's not even the first one we went to. The first one we went to was closed. And then I probably normally would have just been like, forget it. We'll just make a smoothie at home because this is not where the direction we're going. And then, all that unfolded. And he said that, he goes, I feel like she's speaking to me. I think that's exactly how he said it. Like, I don't even know if he said this feels good. I think I said, what are you feeling right now? And he said, I feel like she's speaking to me. And so that was very comforting. And it also gave me peace in a moment that I needed it. It's almost like she was speaking to me too, of like, I give you permission to be with him. So not
that's
that
really cool.
I've had conversations with her really, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
You know, my mom's a Cardinal and my dad's a Blue Jay. They've told me things. I only moved last summer because my mom came to me as a bird and told me to move. So is it that crazy that she could be speaking to me from her C-suite? I think not. I think not. Yeah. So then, of course, I get home and I'm like, C-suite executive. And I was like, oh, well, so then guess what? Guess what shows back up? Because she obviously was a successful professional.
Wait, what? Guess what?
More fear of like, again, then that story comes in because my filter of, is there space for me here?
I didn't even know what the C-suite was.
Right. I didn't even know what the C-suite was. Wow, she was this executive. Oh, wow, she has an award after her. Oh, wow, people really respected and looked up to her. Oh, her career was amazing. Again, like
Well, that's you comparing to like measure up versus both of those things can exist at the same time.
Yes.
They don't have to be the same.
Mm-hmm. So that is that.
Fear.
So there we go. Fear. Mm-hmm.
So now you have all the wisdom.
Now I have all the wisdom. And fear is my gift. I'm using fear as my gift because I don't want to have the impairment of fear. I don't want to miss out on anything. But also, you got to be patient and you got to listen and you got to ask questions.
Use it as wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a weakness. It's awareness.
Cool.
Where are we going to put that?
On
everything.
I was going to start naming them.
What if we start naming them again?
Okay, turning off.
Someone's like, this podcast is glitching. They keep repeating themselves. Okay, so now we have another feeling to get into. I feel like fear took a long time, but there was just a lot to get out there.
Well, do you still want to go through gladness?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a good balance too, because I think what you are also talking about in sharing that story is a lot of gladness that you now get to sit in because you're accepting the fear and that you acknowledged it. So gladness, core need, celebration. So again, doesn't mean a party all the time. It could mean acknowledgement, but like some form of celebration of whatever is happening. It can be very small. It could be a party. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just taking it all in.
Okay.
Was I looking at you weird?
You were looking at me like celebration.
No, it is. I think I'm just like processing. Like I have a lot of emotion having just told a lot of that. So I think I'm like, I'm glad that it's now like.
You did it?
I did it. And I shared some things, especially like the pick me, the chosen part. And then the stuff I haven't told that story about his wife. In fact, I didn't plan on telling that story about the smoothies and his wife. So that just sort of came up for me for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Well, so maybe you noticing I feel glad, you might need to later acknowledge that and celebrate yourself for being vulnerable and sharing something. Because there's a reason you shared those stories.
Yeah.
And there also might be other feelings that we've already talked about popping up too. Okay.
So deep breath.
And this is why it's important to acknowledge your gladness, because if you don't acknowledge your gladness, what will happen, if I'm trying to avoid all of that real authentic gladness that I have, I'll end up, because I'm going to want to feel some form of goodness, manufacturing it in these inauthentic ways. That can be through shopping. It can be through drugs and alcohol. It can be through sex. It can be through, I mean, you name it, something that you're just going to go get that feel good, but it just leads you to needing another one. And it's these just like not as
fleeting.
Yeah, fleeting. I was going to say like not as deep and emotional and meaningful. It's not like meaningful sex with a partner. It's like just random.
Bang.
It's a bang.
It's a bang and bye. I don't know. That's not, I just, alliteration.
Oh, you're hot on those. You said Adventure Alex earlier too. I like that.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Because of Lunch with Leslie. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So if you are aware of it though, it offers you a space to acknowledge what really matters to you again. It offers you a space to be able to build hope when you don't have those experiences. And it allows you to be deeply satisfied. And that is, I think, something a lot of people struggle with is like just being satisfied. And I know I struggle with this because I talked on the fifth thing back in the day, in the beginning of the year, of my word of the year being savor, because something I struggle with is I look forward to things more than I actually enjoy being there. So by the time a trip comes, I'm already sad versus savoring and really being satisfied in the experience I'm having. And so that leads me sometimes to just scheduling something else or looking forward to the next thing versus soaking in the actual experiences that I'm having. Something I need to work on. I think a lot of people also struggle with this. Brene Brown, which most of us know who that is. She's wonderful. She's like the fairy godmother of feelings.
If you don't know, no judgment, just Google it.
You can pretend like you do and then Google it later.
But Brene Brown's amazing. She basically is should be in a C-suite if she's not.
She has to be.
She has to be. She's the
She's
CEO
all
of Brene Brown Incorporated.
She talks about this concept called foreboding joy. And that's that experience that when something good happens, you don't allow yourself to really feel it. You're just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And you, a lot of times, can even acknowledge that of like maybe you get good news and you're like, yeah, I mean, who knows how long this will last? Or you start dating somebody and you're like, I'm not going to get excited about it because he could like break up with me tomorrow. And that is us trying to protect ourselves because, you know, we can get that stuff taken away at any time, but it doesn't.
Fear.
Yeah. It's those working hand in hand. When I could acknowledge, yeah, this is really scary. I could lose this promotion. I could lose this relationship. I don't know. Maybe you just bought a house and you're waiting to close and you're like, something could happen in between that when
it might be full of mold.
Yeah. Or the seller might change their mind. Who knows? But what happens is we remove the ability and the opportunity for us to actually feel that excitement. If something bad is going to happen, something bad is going to happen, right? We can't really stop fate from happening in those spaces. So what is it going to hurt to allow ourselves to really experience and feel the excitement or the gladness when it comes?
And celebrate that and be in it. Yeah, I know your calendar thing is like legit real. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like you agree, like when your wedding ended, you were like, what do I have to live for now? Because that was like the most exciting thing because there was so much build up to that and it was so much fun and exciting. There was always like, I mean, think about it. You had showers, bachelorette trip, different parties, events, all these things you had to look forward to. And then all of a sudden, your calendar, it's gone.
Yeah. And I loved planning the wedding. I really actually did enjoy that.
Well, you like things on your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Things to do.
Yeah. And so I had to talk about that a lot. I think I probably shared it with you a lot because I didn't want to get to my wedding and be sad, you know?
Yeah. My sister shared something with my niece because she is in her later years of college and kind of already starting to think about the next thing. And my sister encouraged her recently to live in her seasons. Because when my sister was in her final year of college, she was going to get married. So she instantly started planning her wedding. And she feels like going from one season to the next, which happens, but it's sort of like they bled into each other. And she feels like she missed out on some of her college experience focusing on the next season that wasn't even there yet. And so that felt relatable at this moment of sometimes to be in the season that you're in and then move on to the next instead of getting so excited about the next season because you may miss out on something that is right there in front of you.
When if that's coming, it's coming. I struggled with that when I was dating Patrick in the beginning. I just wanted to be like, get to the point where we were more serious or get to the point where we were engaged or get to the point. And I had to slow my roll and be like, if this is the person I marry, I'm never going to have a boyfriend again. So I want to like have fun having a boyfriend and also have fun not having all of the stuff, the like the hard stuff, you know, in the beginning, you just get to, it's like, oh, fun, whatever. I don't have to consider all the other parts. And that was something I had to continuously. And I think a lot of people might be relating to that because when they are excited about something, they just want it versus go through the seasons of what that would look like.
And savor the seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put that on a
Savor
mug.
the seasons will be the next drop after.
We're already creating our merch that
They're like, we're not buying either of those.
they were like, I don't want that on a banner.
I'm not buying your screensaver.
I don't want that on a pencil.
Mostly because people don't use pencils.
But savor the season. I think that's a good one. It's a good reminder of not because savor the moment, savor the season. Well, like the two S's, but it's like savor the small things, savor the wins that you're in because I think a lot of people, especially career wise, they're like, oh, accomplish that milestone, on to the next. And you don't spend an appropriate amount of time celebrating whatever just happened, big or small. You just kind of like move on because if you don't, you feel like you're going to get behind and
either because I have to get to the next thing I'm going to get behind or something bad's going to happen. Those two things, both of them can get in the way.
Right.
So gladness is a lot. I know you said when we first brought this up, not when we were recording, like that's a weird one. Like obviously you feel glad, but there is a lot of stuff behind gladness that makes it difficult for people to feel.
Well, I know that excited and encouraged are under glad, and those are our feelings of the day.
Yeah.
Brought to us from Wedding Waddy. Because I asked him, I said, if you were to, sum us up, or like, where are you with our relationship? Because, my kids and I were just talking about this the other night, and I said I was excited. And I'm like, oh. And then he also said encouraged. And so I looked up the gifts and the impairments of both. And you probably know these, but no? We'll sit back. Let me teach. The gift of excited, energy, motivation, boldness to try new things.
I want all of those things.
The impairment is impulsiveness, like you were saying, overcommitting and ignoring red flags.
Yikes.
And then for encourage, the gift is confidence, resilience, willingness to keep going. And the impairment is overdependence on external validation, inflated sense of progress without follow through.
Well, I think his encouragement feels like he's not encouraged by like somebody being like, good job, buddy. It's encouraged from the experiences that you guys have had.
Yes, because I think for a long time he did not think he was going to meet somebody that could potentially come into his life in that capacity, especially with his kids. Yeah. I'll leave names out of it. I don't even know this person's name, so there's no way I could say a name. But I know that he did go out with somebody at one point that I guess I prefaced it with that because I don't have permission to tell this story, but why would it matter if I'm not saying names? Right?
Right.
Legally. He sues me. I'm like, this is
lawyer.
My lawyer boyfriend sues me.
Attorney Alex.
Ooh, I haven't met him yet because he's not a practicing lawyer.
Ooh, I haven't met him. Are you going to role play?
I don't know. Maybe. I've got hiking Alex, wedding Waddy, and now lawyer.
Wow, you never know who you're going to get.
Okay, so let me just say it, and we'll face the consequences later. But she said something like she could not, like she would want the kids right away to start calling her mom and all this stuff. And I think he was like, yeah, this probably is not going to work.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be able to handle that if they're, and I'm like, you have 3 children who have lost their mom far too young. And now your main concern is that you want them to call you mom.
So it didn't work.
Yeah, I don't think they went out again.
That also, I'm just
if they did,
I'm playing
red
devil's
flag.
I'm playing devil's advocate with that, but that could be her just saying my insecurity would be that I would want that.
I can have that compassion card too. I do think mixed with some other things I got about her personality, it was more of a, which sure, the wound there, I have compassion for that. There's probably some things to work through. Obviously, I think making a statement like that, like if this were to progress, because obviously they weren't even serious enough to be at that point, but somehow the conversation happened and she alluded to that. And I think he was like, okay.
So he wasn't totally blinded by the possible flags, which means maybe he's not blinded by.
Yeah. And so then I was like, note to self, never say you want the kids to call you mom.
I don't think you need to make that now. I think you are smart enough.
I know. I'm not going to say that. Because I mean, I don't know. I'm the mom to 2 adopted kids that I didn't know how they would ever feel about me being their mom. We adopted them older. I mean, when Ben and I adopted them, they were 7 and 11. And, you know, they didn't call us mom and dad right away. I don't think they really knew what to call us. And then for a little bit, they went through a phase where they would call us by our first names. I think just to like really stick it to us. I don't know. But they were young. They barely knew.
Not cleaning my room,
English. Yeah. But I mean, some kids just do that with their parents. But we were secure in the fact that we knew like, okay, we don't need to like pay much attention to that. But also it hurt too, because it's like we so desperately want to be parents to these 2 children and we want them to love us and we love them, but you can't. You know, that's a whole nother podcast. So there we go.
We got through the 2 feelings. Okay.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
So now we're through all of the 8 feelings. So you never know what you're going to get on the next episode.
We're done?
Yeah, we did them all.
We did them all? We did. We did them all.
We did them all.
Okay. Yeah. Lonely, hurt, sad, angry, shame, guilt, fear, glad.
That's 8. Yeah. So.
Well, that was fun. What are we going to do? Podcast's over. Thanks for liking and subscribing to Feeling Things. We're going to do another rebrand. Just kidding. Feeling Things for life.
I don't think we're going to run out of content.
That was an awkward laugh. Like, you're like, yeah, speak for yourself.
Well, I think at first I thought you were saying like, I'm feeling things for life. Like,
I'll always Feeling Things podcast
for life.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok.
We're on everything.
We're on Facebook.
We're on Facebook. Oh, yeah. So that's an update. So if you listening and you are not on Instagram, we now are on Facebook. So you can see all the stuff that we're posting on Instagram, eventually on Facebook, and then you can sign up for the newsletter through there too.
At Feeling Things Podcast, this should be the handle for everything. Yeah. You can email us, hey there at feelingthingspodcast.com, and you can call and leave us a voicemail.
Do you want to give the number?
877-207-2077.
Good.
One more time. 877-207-2077.
We'll put it in the
we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. But we are getting some really great emails, so thank y'all for that. And if anybody does not mind their voice being a part of it, I just really
Amy really wants a voicemail. Somebody
like the idea. You know what I really want, but I'm savoring where we are. But I can't wait till I want calls, live calls.
Oh, not even a voicemail. Okay, well, let's do one step at a time.
Let's practice. It'd be like, I'll answer, you be somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Bring. Oh, guys, we have a call. We have a live call.
What if we're recording and nobody calls? We're just sitting here.
They will.
Somebody will call.
Okay.
Oh, hello, Feeling Things.
Hey, it's me.
Wait, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You have to say your name and where you're calling from. Okay.
Hey.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Bring.
Oh, I'm already on the phone.
Feeling Things podcast.
Hey, it's Sandra from Connecticut.
Oh, hey, Sandra from Connecticut.
I'm calling with a question for Amy.
Perfect. This is Amy.
Do I just say it?
Oh, yeah. Go. We're live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been struggling with picking a hobby, and I've been trying all these different things and I don't like any of them. And I just wanted to know if you had any ideas of hobbies I could try. I tried pottery like Kat was doing. I've tried horseback riding. I've tried sewing. I've tried cooking classes. And I just didn't know if there's any hobbies that might be out there that I just am not thinking of?
I guess my first question for you, Sandra.
Sandra from Connecticut.
Sandra from Connecticut. What are you running from? Have you asked yourself that? Because it sounds like you're chasing hobbies to avoid something.
You know, I never thought about that, but I was calling Amy because I wanted a hobby. I didn't want any of this therapy stuff.
Well,
what's happened to you?
Lucky for you, Kat's a therapist. She'll be on with you in a minute, free of charge. And we'll work through that, blah, 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 blah.
So I don't get the recommendation?
Well, I don't know. So she's done all the
that's what
hobbies,
could happen.
But I mean,
you show up with a question, you don't even know what you really need.
Yeah, but I didn't know
that
how
was
to
a
really
good
I didn't know how to
answer.
really role play all of that. But what I heard from Sandra is that she's tried all the hobbies out there. So I was thinking there's something lacking in her life, or she's running away from something.
Yeah.
And so then we can live unpack it with Sandra. But you could also do your disclaimer that's like, hey,
this isn't therapy.
I'm Kat. I'm a therapist with all these letters behind my name, very licensed, all the licenses.
I just have one.
But it has lots of letters.
Yeah.
Say the letters.
LPC.
LPC.
MHSP.
MHSP.
Yeah, right. Those
Basically
letters down.
C-suite. And Kat
is not giving therapy.
Yeah, I'm Kat. I'm a therapist. Yeah. And while this is a therapy podcast, this doesn't replace therapy. This isn't therapy. And we're not giving you real legit life advice. So don't like go change your life based off what we say, but kind of. Something like that. Don't you? What's your disclaimer?
Take it with a grain of salt. Well, this is just to add an addition to the work that you're already doing. It's really to help get ideas from, but this isn't actual therapeutic advice.
You hear that, Sandra?
Yeah. Don't sue us is what we're trying to say.
Right. And if you do sue us,
Attorney Alex will come and shut that down.
Don't worry. We have a legal representation.
Okay. Well, we hope that you
have
the day
you need to have.
I thought we were going to do it together.
Okay. Sorry, I'm nervous this episode.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to say it?
And it's over, but.
Did you have the episode you needed to have?
I did. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like I could have explained certain things better, but
I think we do that with everything. The good news is we have unlimited episodes. So if you ever think of something that you're like, oh, I want to readdress this, floor is yours.
No, let me tell you, I will not be able to listen to this one back. I've been trying to listen back to some to like game tape, like athletes do.
Game tape, watch tape, game tape.
Yeah, game tape.
Okay.
To try to be better.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I listen to this one back, I will cringe.
I'll listen to it for you. And then
you take notes.
Because
you edit.
Yeah.
Oh, someone said whoever is editing your videos
deserves a raise.
Yeah.
It's what she said.
And guess who's editing the videos?
Me.
Sandra from Connecticut.
So Sandra, you're getting a raise.
AKA Kat. And yeah, they are good.
Yeah.
I'm loving them. So
thanks.
Yeah, y'all follow. You don't want to miss out on this content. Oh, speaking of content, Kat and I are going to be bringing more content to all those social media platforms. We just said, like, not just our clips from the episodes, but we have a cooking show. And we went shopping and made a little shopping video. Yeah. So you never know.
Like and subscribe.
You never know. You don't want to miss out.
Okay, so
have
the day
you need
to have.
To have.
That's good enough for today. Bye.
Peace.